Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to turn a NotebookLM notebook into an interactive lead magnet. Now, assuming that you do know how to create a NotebookLM notebook, you're going to start by creating a new notebook. What's important is not the format. What's important is the function of what you're going to be uploading. What you're going to be uploading is a business philosophy and the way in which your brand or your company solves problems. If those elements are inside of your Google Drive, you can search your Google Drive for them. If not, you can upload the sources from your hard drive or even from YouTube videos that you may have published. We will not use fast or deep research from the web because this information is going to be proprietary and it's going to be based on the way that we do business in our brand. In this notebook is an entire system of marketing principles that a specific brand is teaching. What we want to do is to come into Google Gemini and go to the Tools area. We then want to turn on the Canvas. Once we turn on the Canvas, what we want to do is we want to add in the NotebookLM notebook with our business philosophy. We're then going to click on NotebookLM. What we're then going to do is once we pull it up is we're then going to put in our business philosophy and we're going to add it to the chat window. The idea behind a no-code app is that you don't need specialized prompting or specialized coding in order to execute the process. You're now looking at a prompt that was generated by asking Google Gemini a specific question. Stated to Gemini that what we wanted a prompt for an interactive quiz for our lead magnet, and then we wanted a call to action inside of the lead magnet. So basically, this intermediate step is to go to Gemini and ask for the prompt that we're going to be placing inside of the chat. Gemini did what we asked. It provided us a prompt to place into the Gemini chat. We're going to select all of this prompt and we're going to head to the Gemini chat. So we've attached the notebook. We're now going to paste in the prompt given to us by Gemini. Now, Gemini assumed that we're going to write in our own email and our own phone number. We're going to go ahead and do that right now, even though for the sake of this video, we're not going to use a real phone number. So we now have our prompt and we have our canvas open. We're going to make sure to use the pro version if we have a number of queries still available. If you don't have a number of queries available, it's a good idea to wait until you do. We're then going to click Submit. And you're going to see Gemini go through the analysis. And what we expect Gemini to do is then to open up the canvas. And Gemini has begun to open up the canvas and is now going to design our lead magnet. And you will see the code being generated in real time. And our code is now generated for our lead magnet. We can test the code. We can start by clicking the first button. We're going to answer the questions as if we are the customer. And you'll see that the quiz is generated based on what we have inside of our NotebookLM notebook. And we will continue to answer the questions. And what you now see is an answer based on our specific marketing philosophy. You also see that there is a call to action and for the individual to either call or send an email or to retake the assessment. We can then share the assessment by link. We can click on share. And we then have the link copied. We can then open up the link in a different browser. And the assessment is now ready based on the way that we set it up. What we can also do is we can make sure that we can then share the assessment with a downloadable HTML file. What we need to do to make the code shareable is to click on code. What we then need to do is to copy all of the code. We will then copy it and we will head to our favorite HTML editor. We will paste into our editor. And our assessment is now complete. We can now save our assessment. Our assessment is now saved. We can then close out of our HTML editor. The HTML file will then be on your hard drive where you saved it. You can then double click on the assessment, and your assessment will then be ready. That means then that all we'll need to do is to deliver the file to the customer in order to take the assessment. In some cases, you may want to give a different lead magnet to a different customer based on a different way in which you do business. So we want to replicate the process so that we do not have to go through the same steps over and over again. We are going to tell Gemini to replicate this process for a gem for us to reuse it with a different notebook. And so we are going to tell Gemini what we want. It's important to note that we are not using specialized prompts. We are using plain language to express what we want. And we're going to allow Gemini to do the heavy lifting. So we're going to ask Gemini to write the instructions that we're going to use inside of the Gemini Gem to replicate the process. So it's a good idea once you get the prompt is to go to the ellipsis and then to export this conversation to a Google Doc so that you do not lose it and so that you will have it for future use. We can then open the docs. If we like the instruction, we can go to File. We can then move the file, and we can move the file to a place that we want to categorize it. The file will then be saved, and it will be saved to a place where we now remember. We can then copy this code, and we can then open up a Google Gemini Gem. We're going to expand the menu. We're then going to click on Gems. We're going to skip past the super gems. We're going to open up a new gem. We're going to give our gem a name. Now, in the description area, if you're going to be giving this gem to someone else to use, you want to put in the instruction that they need to follow once they get to this page. If you're going to be using it internally, you can just describe the gem as you see it. We're now going to paste in our instructions. And so our process is now complete. We're going to make sure that we turn on the canvas. We're not going to be uploading our own knowledge because every time that we use the lead magnet, we're going to upload a different NotebookLM notebook based on what it is we want to do. What we're now going to do is we're going to click Save, and we're going to save the gem. So we have in our trigger phrase. What we now need to do is we need to apply the framework that we want to have applied for this specific lead magnet. And this is going to be different every time that we use the lead magnet. Now, in this case, we're just going to select a NotebookLM notebook that we think best reflects what it is we want to do. Now, for the sake of this video, we're going to use a specific element, and we're going to click Add. And so now we have our trigger phrase. We have the framework that we want to apply. We're going to turn on the Pro element. We are then going to click on Submit. And Gemini is now analyzing both the notebook as well as our request. And Gemini has now set up the quiz and is now beginning to create our lead magnet as an interactive page. And our new assessment is now ready. We can now click on Begin Assessment, and we can begin to answer the questions as if we are our customer. And the assessment brings our call to action. Now, we did have to correct the AI. Initially, the assessment placed the client name here. So we went back in plain language to correct the AI to make sure that it places in the name of the consultant, which is us, as the call to action. So we do want to make sure that this works properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of the code. We're going to copy it. We're now going to head to our favorite HTML editor. Now we've pasted in our element. We now have our assessment. We're going to save our assessment. We're going to close out of our HTML editor. And we want to test our new file that we're going to be giving to our customer. And so we want to, again, take the assessment as if we are our customer. And the assessment produces as we see fit. So you can use your NotebookLM notebook to create an interactive lead magnet that you can distribute to your customer by giving them a clickable HTML file. You can always host this HTML file on the web. Okay, so thanks, and I will see you in another video.